Language connects us across borders and cultures. But on the journey of learning a new language, and especially when learning English, students need to choose a teacher they trust and feel comfortable with. When making that decision, however, one burning question arises. Should I pick a native speaker as my teacher or not? So in this video, we are going to explore the question if native speakers really make better teachers. And with that, find out if you should keep watching my videos or not. Please don't leave. You are all I have. So first, we are going to have a look at the advantages and disadvantages of being a native speaking teacher. We're going to explore their strengths from pronunciation all the way to cultural roots, as well as their weaknesses. And then we'll try to draw a conclusion and see if being a native speaker is really the gold standard, or if there is more to it than just being born into a certain language background. So get ready, because this is going to be an interesting one. Hi and welcome to Teacher Phil, where I help people like you pass their Cambridge exam. Let's dive right into the advantages of native speaking English teachers. First of all, experience and intuition are two very important aspects to consider. Learning a language is not only about memorizing grammar or studying as much vocabulary as possible. It is a deep dive into learning intuitively how to use specific expression, idioms, and learning about cultural nuances. Imagine learning a language not just by studying from a textbook, but from someone who has lived with this language and in their culture their whole life since birth. Native speakers simply have a level of experience that non-native speakers probably cannot reach. Secondly, authentic pronunciation is another point that sets native speakers really apart from the rest. Intonation, word stress, sentence stress, and things like the right rhythm are things that really bring a language alive. And who could you possibly better learn from than from someone who has done it their whole life? With its cadence, accents, and cultural nuances, once again, this is really what makes the language come alive. With their linguistic heritage, native speakers become true masters of pronunciation. Thirdly, cultural context matters a lot. I've already mentioned it several times, but language is a cultural phenomenon. So native speakers serve in a way as cultural ambassadors, offering a glimpse into the soul of a language. Learning a language isn't just about vocabulary and syntax. It's about understanding the customs, traditions, and the unspoken rules that make communication happen. Native speakers can bridge this gap, giving you a richer and more profound language learning experience. Last but not least, the connection between the teacher and the learner is really the heartbeat of language learning. Native speakers, with their cultural roots, can often create a bond that goes beyond simple language instruction. This shared cultural experience, from teaching about customs all the way to personal anecdotes that are steeped in that cultural background, make the language learning experience not only informational, but also enjoyable and entertaining. Native speakers, in that sense, become more like a language mentor, and that creates a deeper bond with their students. Okay, so now we've explored all the strengths of native speakers, from their natural pronunciation all the way to their role as cultural ambassadors. But, as with every debate, there is also another side to it. Now let's also consider some of the disadvantages of native speakers when it comes to teaching a language. First, and most importantly, simply knowing a language from birth doesn't guarantee a good language learning experience for the students. Effective language teaching involves more than just being born into a certain language background. Pedagogical training, for example, is absolutely necessary to being able to offer well-structured and planned-out language lessons. Non-native teachers often have deeper formal training and therefore provide their students with easier to follow breakdowns of, for example, grammatical structures and other language concepts. On top of that, because non-native speakers had to learn the language themselves, they are very much aware of all the problems and pitfalls that a language learner might encounter. And with that, they are probably better able to connect to the needs and problems of their own students. The second disadvantage that native speakers might have is that thanks to globalization, English has now more speakers of English as a second language than speakers of English as a first language, and it has truly become a global language. Students might actually look for other accents than just the native ones, because, for example, in their work environment, it is more likely that they encounter somebody who is also a non-native speaker. And that means that, for example, a non-native teacher can offer another perspective for those students that is closer to their reality than simply being taught perfect English by a native speaker. Of course, this is not only true for English, but probably for any other language. But with English as such a global language, I guess you get my point. So now, after looking at both sides of the argument, all that's left for us to do is to answer the question from the beginning of the video. Should you choose a native speaker or not? And should I quit my job? As you might have guessed, the answer is, it depends. We saw on the one hand that native speakers offer some incredible advantages for their students, from flawless pronunciation to a deeper experience than just studying the language, as well as a personal connection between the teacher and the learner. On the other hand, non-native teachers are often better trained and therefore better suited to understand their students' problems and adapt their lesson to these issues faster and possibly better. I believe that at the end of the day, it comes down to the students. If you want to learn a language and you're looking for a teacher, think about what exactly you want. Do you want the cultural experience? Do you want somebody who gives you perfect native pronunciation? Or are you looking for another variety of the language, like a non-native accent, and perhaps a better trained teacher that can help you with your specific problems a little bit better than a native speaker might be able to? For me personally, I think there is no better or worse between native speakers and non-native speakers. And for that reason, I guess we have a draw. And more importantly, I can keep my job. So as I said at the very beginning of the video, language unites us and makes the world truly global. Learning languages connects us with other people, and it helps us overcome boundaries and differences that unfortunately we see way too many of in the world today. So thank you for joining me today on this little exploration, and I see you in the next video.